Stellar Blade is this fast-paced action game where you're basically a super warrior trying to save the planet, and the combat is really the highlight with these stylish moves and combos that make you feel like a pro, and the game really nails that feeling. The story is interesting, but it can get a bit predictable and you might see some plot twists coming from a mile away. The side missions sometimes feel like they're just there to fill time. But if you're into games where you can just jump in and have fun with cool fights and a solid main character, you'll enjoy Stellar Blade, even if it doesn't always throw you for a loop. Avowed is a first-person RPG where you explore a mysterious land, fight deadly enemies, and use magic or swords to shape your own journey. And honestly, it's got a lot going for it. The combat is fun because you can mix different weapons and spells, but sometimes it feels a little rough around the edges. The world is rich with lore and cool places to discover, but there are moments where it feels a little too empty. The story has some strong moments and lets you make meaningful choices, but it doesn't always feel as exciting as it could be. It's a solid RPG with great potential, and while it's not perfect, it's still worth checking out if you enjoy deep fantasy worlds.
What do you know of the living lands?
If you love exploring weird places and solving puzzles without the game holding your hand, Animal Well is perfect for you. It's a puzzle platformer that throws you into this dark, mysterious underground world where you have to figure everything out on your own. The way it slowly reveals its secrets makes it super rewarding, and the art style is really simple but somehow makes the game feel alive. The puzzles are great, but they can also be really tough. And since the game doesn't give you any clues, you might get stuck sometimes. But honestly, that just makes it even more fun when you finally solve something. Banishers, Ghosts of New Eden is an action RPG that puts you in the shoes of two ghost hunters, Red and Antea, as they explore a cursed town filled with spirits and tough choices. The combat is a fun mix of swordplay and supernatural powers, where you switch between Red's physical attacks and Antea's ghostly abilities, making every fight feel different. But what really stands out is the story. It's emotional, full of difficult decisions, and actually changes depending on what you do. The world is dark and atmospheric, with creepy locations and a haunting soundtrack that pulls you in. Some parts of the game can feel a bit slow, and the combat takes time to get used to, but the way it blends action with storytelling makes it a really unique experience. If you love RPGs that actually make you think, this one is worth playing. Black Myth Wukong is a visual masterpiece with next-level graphics and environments so detailed and atmospheric that I felt like I was exploring a living painting. And the combat is just as impressive because it's fast-paced and challenging, with a deep moveset that lets you unleash some seriously cool combos and transformations to outsmart your enemies. I especially loved experimenting with all the different ways to fight and figuring out which abilities worked best against different enemies. While the story could have been a bit more engaging and some of the boss fights were definitely tough as nails, those are honestly minor complaints in an otherwise incredible game that any fan of action RPGs or anyone who appreciates stunning visuals and challenging gameplay should definitely check out. Okay, so I finally got around to playing Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. And let me tell you, it was like stepping back into a world I knew and loved, but with a whole new perspective. Remember all those awesome moments from the original? Well, they're back, but with even more depth and detail. And the story goes in some crazy directions that I totally didn't see coming. I got so attached to the characters this time around, like they felt like old friends. And the combat kept me on my toes with all the different strategies and abilities you can use. Honestly, I did get a little lost in those massive dungeons sometimes, and the story kind of dragged in a few places, but overall it was an amazing experience that brought back so many memories and made me fall in love with Final Fantasy VII all over again. If you're a fan of the original, you owe it to yourself to check out Rebirth.
Bring it!
Space Marine 2 is a big action game where you play a super strong space soldier fighting tons of alien bugs. I played this recently and really love the gameplay. It's like you're smashing through waves of enemies with huge guns and a big sword. You feel really powerful, and the battles are super exciting, with lots of explosions and action going on. Sometimes, though, it feels like you're just fighting the same bugs over and over, and it can get a little tiring. But honestly, the feeling of being a Space Marine and just destroying everything in your path is so much fun. It's hard to put the controller down. Okay, so I jumped into Dragon's Dogma 2, and at first I was like, whoa, this is a little rough around the edges, because some things were glitchy and it felt kind of clunky. But you know what? They've been putting out a bunch of patches, and the more I played, the more I got hooked. Seriously, the combat is just so satisfying, especially when you're like climbing up a giant cyclops and stabbing it right in the eye. Plus, the world is huge, and there's always something cool to discover around every corner. And can we talk about the pawns? I love those little guys. They're always there to back you up in a fight, and they actually learn and get stronger as you play, which is really awesome. I will say that some of the quests can get a little repetitive, and the menus are kind of confusing, but honestly, that didn't bother me too much. If you're into action RPGs with a huge world and tons of freedom, you should definitely check out Dragon's Dogma 2. So I finally got around to playing the new Astro Bot game, and it's just as charming as I hoped it would be. This time around, you team up with Astro to explore this amazing theme park, with all sorts of different zones like a spooky castle and an underwater world, and each zone has its own unique challenges and puzzles to solve. I really loved how they use the DualSense controller to add to the experience. Like, you can feel the different textures when you're walking on different surfaces, and the graphics are seriously impressive. It feels like you're playing inside a Pixar movie. My only complaint is that some of the platforming sections can be a little tricky, but honestly, it's nothing too frustrating, and it just makes it even more satisfying when you finally overcome those challenges overall. It's a fantastic game that's perfect for players of all ages. If you're looking for a fun and innovative platformer, then look no further.
The place is coming down!
Okay, so I finally got my hands on Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, and wow, this game is a wild ride from start to finish. You get to explore all these amazing locations like ancient temples and hidden cities, and the puzzles are really clever. I spent hours trying to figure some of them out. The story is super exciting too, with plenty of twists and turns that kept me guessing the whole time, plus the graphics are incredible. It actually feels like you're in a classic Indiana Jones movie. The combat can be a little clunky at times though, and I wish there were more enemy variety because after a while it starts to feel a bit repetitive.
Should have left this alone. Yeah? Well, should have done a lot of things.
But honestly, those are just minor nitpicks in an otherwise awesome game. If you're a fan of Indiana Jones or just love a good action adventure, then you definitely need to check this one out. Alright, so I jumped into Metapohor Refantazio, and honestly, I was pretty surprised. Now, I am not a big anime fan, but I'll try to be unbiased in my review and say that this game is actually really good. I played for around 10 hours, and I must say that the gameplay is really amazing. It's got this unique turn-based combat system that keeps you thinking strategically with every move, and the story is surprisingly deep with some really interesting characters that you actually start to care about. The world is beautifully designed too. It's like stepping into a vibrant anime movie, but I will say that the graphics might not be for everyone, and I did find myself getting a little lost sometimes, because the map can be kind of confusing, but overall, I'm really enjoying Metapohor Refantazio, and I think it's definitely worth checking out even if you're not usually into anime games.